We're on to our meeting today. Apologies, please. We have one from Becky McCauley.
Yeah, one from Doug.
Duncan Helm. Then move those
I'll move
apologies.
them.
Please. Second up. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried, thank you. We have no public forum. I'd just like to ask people attending to stand for a moment for the deaths of Maniototo locals and Morris Trindle, Dixon Andrews, Rods Blue, and Fred Carey, thank you. Thank you very much. Just like to know all four of those people spent all their lives in Maniototo in the mark.
Yep.
One of them was 90, the other one late 80s. Put them in the late 80s and they've never left the place.
Yeah.
One of them was very young. Can I have someone please confirm the minutes of the previous meeting as a true and correct record? Thank you. Mark Harris.
No, I can't remember. I wasn't here.
Oh, you were here?
Yeah. Me.
Oh, so Stu,
Yeah, the second.
second to Mark Harris. I'll second it, sorry. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried, thank you. Mind members about if they have any interest in any of this stuff, you know, open about the date, please declare it. Right, Saskia.
You have in front of you is formalising a workshop we last met a couple of weeks ago. And essentially what this paper is really outlining is the opportunities for the board to have both informal and formal feedback into the process. So you'll see there with C, if the board so chooses, for Mr Chairman or a delegate to attend the workshop next Wednesday, either in person or via Teams, to provide some formal feedback. That doesn't need to be the board's position. It can be questions, clarifications, or things that you just want to at this stage discuss with council. And again, if the board wishes, and we do encourage the board to, is to provide written feedback to the governance manager by 5 PM Monday the 8th of July. Why we put the 8th of July on there is so that we can incorporate the board thinking within the paper. The actual drop dead date is the 19th of July, and that's when the CEO will get the final paper for sign out. What it would just mean if the board, if all members can come together by the 8th, is that by the 19th of July we wouldn't have time to incorporate into the paper, but we would still attach it verbatim to the report. So probably the key thing before I open up any questions is that what we do see in the analysis to move to further digitising activities such as the pools and the parks is there is a benefit there to the Maniototo board, especially in the out years, which was in the presentation, not within the paper. And what that's really driven by is the earthquake strengthening for your halls. So you'll see in the presentation attached in the sort of the last 5 years of our 10-year period, you see your Maniototo reserves go into the negative. And so that's really driven by those earthquake strengthening decisions still to come. So it could well be, and that's a future conversation to be had around those pools, is that doesn't eventuate. But based on the current plan, our predictions there. So really open it up to any questions for the board to cover that.
So, if we districtise at council level, have we done end of this year, correct?
So what would happen is that it would not have effect until the next financial year.
24, 25.
Yeah, 25.
25. Okay, so districtisation, if it succeeds. And at its present shape, it is everything left other than water and road. Oh, that has been determined.
So in terms of the thing
Districtised and what, so to be
To
districtised
be districtised, yes,
is
as the,
everything in the present shape and form, other than water and road, which already have been.
And, grants would remain.
Grants
Right,
remain.
remain.
Yeah.
and there has been, things like, libraries, of course, have already done it at district level and stuff like that, but yeah, the proposal, if it goes through and approved by council, go out to discuss with committee and ultimately approved, would be leaving the discretion with the board over your community and promotion grant. And when we were doing the thinking around it, that was being quite appropriate because you've got the finger on the pulse, you know, what's happening in the community in terms of the needs of those community groups.
So in that, our halls get taken over by council.
Correct.
So any earthquaking or maintenance repairs done at a
Yes.
district level.
At the district. And the Ranfurly pool, that would become a district cost as well. So when that needs refurbished, that would be shared amongst all the ratepayers in the district, not here in the ward.
Excellent.
We're the only one, the earthquake was, we're the only one that's different below the line here.
Well, that does reflect the level of investment that's required from that time in your halt.
Yeah.
Notice no one else has dropped down there.
Well, that's because your accounts are also deficit, isn't it?
Yeah, and also what's driving that, Mark, is it's a numbers game within the number of people within this board. So of course, Cromwell and Vincent, they've got some pools as well that need a do something. Janice is more across this, but because here in the Maniototo, you're sharing that load amongst so fewer ratepayers than the likes of us in Cromwell, so it has a market effect for your community.
When the decision was made about some of these halls, we still get a lot of say in that.
Yeah, so the intention would be, and that's the second part of that presentation is the role of the community board.
Right.
And so we're really interested in the community board's thoughts on that. It's clear, you'll see the first page of that says this is what the Act says, this is what the legal role of the community board is. It won't change in that regard. But the intention would be that matters that come before council but are relevant to a particular ward, the papers would flow through the community board first of all and then come up to council. Right now, the problem is there is a slight disconnect in that because of the 6-week, 4-week rotation, how we better sequence that. And so that might be something we plan for in the next triennium, get a better flow. But the intention would be for discussions, just use the Aotearoa Hall, and council has to make a decision around the earthquake strengthening or like, then a paper would come to the community board seeking their recommendation, and the options that would be put forward that would come to the community board, and then it would go to council with the community board's recommendation on a preferred course of action.
So this decision by council, if it was to come 31st of July to talk to our community, and then for council to formally consider the community feedback during September, there is no change at that point to the level of service around things like pool, that is Peter's outlined. A separate process would occur, which would involve the community boards, which could be as early as the LTP, depending on how the debt ceiling is.
So the savings to the staff or the council business partner will be huge if we can tie them all up.
There will be efficiencies to be made, but what that means is, like if we use the team in finance, they're really busy when it comes to, because we run a number of different, accounts for the community boards, the council, so on and so on. It means that the effort that goes into that wouldn't be there, which means they could focus their effort on other priorities which just keep getting pushed back. So it would just be a reallocation of tasks, and so we'd have a better focus across a range of other areas that we could put some attention in.
I probably think that the benefit would be seen most to do is in terms of priority, so that council could look at the district as a whole and be right, this here building and this thing and this building in Maniototo, they're the most critical ones, and hold on, we've really assessed this on advice from the property team. These ones in Cromwell, yeah, exactly. Can wait. So I think that's where some of the key things that would be district wide view.
I mean, it's only good for us if we can share that risk with such a small ratepayer base, which is an instrumental for the whole Secretago's region. Yeah.
So lights at Petera Hall, they went out there and decided they wanted to fix it. It's, astronomical cost, probably, and we disagreed, and we said we didn't want it, that's what we have next.
But your recommendation would go to council, and council would consider that in the whole, and say, okay, this is what the community said, this is what the community board said, council, what will you decide? And it'd be a decision for council.
And what we did see, was the consultation that we had with the board over the spelling of, Maniototo, the council did take quite seriously the recommendation that council did. Obviously, they better than I think that's due, but, definitely there was a strong sense around the table that we need to look into the board, and the board,
But ultimately, they'll make a business decision.
Yeah.
And there could be bridges, exactly which bridge we look at profiling or prioritising or.
But when you're talking about spending millions of dollars in places that, like some halls that are barely do once a year, twice a year, that'll be a business decision made by the council, as to whether they actually fix it or not.
Yeah.
What goes first.
In a lot of ways, we'll give recommendations here, but the heavy hitting will be done by council. Same will be libraries, the same will be in the swimming pools or halls and the rest of the district. Oh, that's all pretty straightforward, isn't it?
Working right. Mark, you got any comments about it?
No, that's great. I can just read it this morning.
Yeah, so what's the feeling among other community boards so far about it? Is it, are they happy with digitalisation?
Well,
That they're gonna be paying for us.
we've had this discussion, and I would say it's relatively neutral. No one has spoken out against it or strongly in favour. I think people are just keeping the options open and waiting until they, as a community board, gather to put a central proposition back up to council. So I think what we'll see next week in the workshop at the end of council, chairs of community board and or their representatives can come to the workshop, and it'll be an opportunity then for them to tell us what their community board is sort of thinking about this, with a view to if they wanted to draft a submission and put that in, or draft their position and send that to us by the 8th of July, and then we'll put that in the paper that goes to council. But right now, I would say it's the heat we received over the delegation. It's not apparent around a district-wide discussion, because I think we've experienced it with the roading and the orders, but actually that was the right decision, and it led to a more fairer, equitable way of funding significant assets. And I think people have realised, and even as we look at this, you'll see that some community boards will benefit, and some their benefit might not be as pronounced. But then in the scheme of things, when you look at historically with the cost of roading and the cost of water, actually it's probably the reverse. Those community boards that benefit out of water and roading might not benefit as much in the scheme of things moving forward, but they've had significant benefit. But it also brings one council district.
Yes.
Well, at the moment, whether it's around our table up there or not, there's still pockets that are very parochial to where they are. Probably the biggest centre, but at the end of the day, we are one district. If you want to go mountain biking, you have to cross boundaries and bridges in the district to go somewhere else. And if you want to go curling, outdoor curling or indoor curling, or if you want to go skiing, you've got to cross the district, and it's a district. Sometimes that gets lost.
So the likes of something if we feel needs fixed, rather than like the list of stuff we get, they can, we want to spend this much here or this much here. We got something, we don't do that, any of those. If we want to go down to say a bridge, we want to fix the bridge first. Would that come?
Yeah, so the way that will come is now that we've got the bridge strategy, that sort of help prioritise where the effort should be. Obviously, the next discussion we're going to have in due course is the LTP. That's the opportunity for the community boards, because that's the 10-year plan, to say, okay, well, look, we really think this is really important for the community, and we would like to see this funded in one of these years going forward. and then it's put into the mix. It's consulted on, and then it comes back. So community boards will have that way. The LTP is the mechanism, the main mechanism to get things funded, because it is the long-term planning. And then the annual plans are the way to then enact that long-term plan and start implementing it. It's a bit messy if we try and keep putting new things into an annual plan year after year. That's definitely not a good way to do it. The LTP is the process. Community boards say, we think this is important, we would like to see this.
So we've really probably, as a community board, got to have, it's like the business meeting yesterday, have 10 projects that we think are important in the next 10 years and prioritise them and have them all in there, because we can't go back and consult them if we haven't got wish lists. And before we might have the hospital might come on board really quick and it's not been part of the 10-year plan or it wasn't part. So we need to have those ourselves and meet in with our own community or people and, you know, community board where other people want to have the say is where do we look 10 years from now? Because 10 years from now is a long way away.
The only thing that we have to be cautious of, and which council will have to consider, in the scheme of things, over the next 10 years, there's significant cost for the roading network and the free waters network, which then means the discretion to spend large chunks of money on other things is going to be constrained, because it all has to be managed within our long-term affordability, financial affordability and revenue strategy. So there is a constraint already within our aspirations from a purely funding point of view.
So if we got a budget of what you could spend, say in Maniototo on certain stuff in 2 or 3 years, so we could have a better idea of what things would cost or what we
But we go the other way. We say we want to put in a
yeah, but what I'm saying, if they give us a budget of what we're going to spend, what they afford in 3 years, then we can look at stuff and where we want to spend it for.
Well, in the work that the team's doing around the roading, and you might want to talk to those, and in the free waters, we will have a good idea of the work that we have to do in those particular areas in the Maniototo.
Yep.
And so as we work through the workshops, and then this will come to the community boards and the council, say, well, this is where we think the priority of effort should go, and the sequencing of these big projects.
Yep.
And that's where we'll definitely seek community boards input it, and we've got that priority right, the bridging strategy, so on and so on. You know, if someone says we want to build Disneyland out the back here, and we'd say, well, look, there is no scope for that. There's no money for it. You know, so there's a touch of pragmatism. It's sort of, there's a lot of renewals we have to do, and that's going to take a fair chunk of the effort. So if the focus is around existing assets and improving them and that sort of stuff, then yes, that's all part of the renewal program. But if it was for a completely new facility, that would be very difficult.
Yeah. Our biggest risk to us possibly here with digitalisation would be our farms, correct? Land becomes owned by council.
Yes and no.
Administered by community.
Yeah, so one land is fee simple, but one is endowment land. And so, you know, that's locked them up. And of course, I think that the process of the land, the lease and all that helps pay off the hospital.
Yeah.
Yep. And so, you know, from a council point of view, that makes good sense. There's a loan against it. That debt is council's debt. Those assets are council assets now. And I wouldn't see at this point in time, I wouldn't foresee any change in that, because that's enabling the other one.
And as I understand from Linda, those leases still have quite a number of years.
Well, they do, yeah. But I guess we're talking about long-term plans, and that's probably 5 years it's been there. And I guess the only thing is, while we administer it, can we make it endowment land?
Which one?
Well, it's not.
No, because it's the original purpose that was given determines whether it's endowment land.
The original agreement for that land was to be in a state in which we use it for the community, and farming had to be there with terms and rules around it. Is that?
We'd have to legally have a look at that. But the other bits of endowment land are quite clear in the way that it was endowed to council.
So endowment land, baby's gone, whatever, that will still stay, like, for the money they earn, whatever, will still be spent in those.
In the borough.
Yeah, in the borough.
And same with Cromwell.
Yeah, that's right. And when, you know, I take I would think in the bar in Moran, fairly Naysbury, you know, because the hospital's here, not in Naysbury, but we accept that that's perfectly fine. So, yeah, within the wider Maniototo region.
And that's why we're gonna make sure we've got a long-term plan thinking that rolls over. And whether that money for the hospital we used to do chalets or an extension of the hospital or something relative to the community, that we can see a project for that as well. Otherwise it could go into a wastewater treatment plant in Quam or something. So we've got to make sure that we've got a 10-year plan, 20 or 30-year plan as well.
Peter, do you want me to talk a little bit about where it's looking like funding's coming from NCCA Rock Study? So last week or the week before, we received an initial letter on our funding application to NCCA. One of the and it's not in full yet. We're still waiting on some of the work categories to be confirmed, and they won't be confirmed for August. But the really positive thing around roads is the new local road pothole prevention category that the new government set up. So in that funding area, we got 100% approval and FAR for those categories. So that's renettling of unsealed roads, resurfacing, rehabilitation of sealed roads, drainage, and general maintenance basically, which is, you know, just general cycling stuff. But that's quite really positive. It's 33% more in those work activities than we had in the previous LTP. So that gives us some scope to really focus on some of the problem areas that we've had up on the network around funding and being able to maintain reasonable levels of service on different road categories in the network. So we're still working through the full implications of all the funding at the moment around bridges and bridge component renewals, but that's
So that bridge component renewals come under that as well?
no,
Just running service.
Yeah, bridge and structural renewals like road improvements is key categories. But they've changed things around quite a bit. But the real positive thing is that we've got 100% of what we applied for, and 33% more overall.
Well, that's good.
Right.
As long as we spend it efficiently and in the right places, it'll be a good result.
Thank you, Paul.
Right, so we just move that, do we?
Mark, you happy? So someone move, which one are we moving? The recommendation.
Instead of further distributing activities to meet the community board for feedback, council agreed to chair or delegate it to attend the workshop.
Yep.
Which is option 1, isn't it? A, B, C, and D.
So someone move that, please.
I'll do that.
Stuart Duncan, second. Mark Harris, all those in favour? Aye. Against?
Have we got a chairman or the person now, or do I become that person at council meeting workshop?
You don't need to pick it now, because it does say chair or delegate attend the workshop, so you've moved that. So between yourselves, you can agree to that person is.
Yep.
Good.
Yeah.
Reports outlining interest for members to go to the LGNZ conference. Are you still members?
Yeah.
Adjourn the meeting.
Yep, we'll have to adjourn the meeting for a minute. Stu, you can come back. We've only just got a quorum, Stu. Just please don't walk out when you've got to get stuff done. Thank you. Right, we start our meeting. Thank you. Sarah.
So it's just as outlined in the report, just to canvass interest in members if anyone would like to go to the community board conference, which is this year going to be held at the new Tapino conference and exhibition centre in Wellington. And it will run for the first time as part of the annual LGMZ conference in Asia.
Just on that weekend or anything?
Yes, in fact.
It's Wednesday, the 21st of August,
Oh,
to Friday, the
Wednesday.
23rd. Not over a weekend.
Ah. When is it, sorry? Today?
August. Wednesday, 21st of August, through to Friday, the 23rd of August.
When do they need to know that?
There is an early bird option for tickets.
Is anyone interested, or do we feel we need to go? You shaking your head?
I put my name for to go to the council one, but they had enough, so.
No.
Two representatives of council going there, and Sally and
Oh, sure. Oh, keep that.
Damon,
Right. No, I don't think we need this stage.
maybe Jill Booth.
I think every community board is sending a representative trust though. From Cromwell and Vincent.
Cromwell, and not TV,
And
Not to.
because Sally was down.
Oh, sounds good.
Yeah, TV decided that they already had a voice in there, for you.
Cheryl spoke at the Cromwell Community Board this week and she found it really helpful and beneficial because what they're running now as part of the LGNZ conference is they're running the combined community board and LGNZ together. And so it is quite a good full-on program. There's a lot of ministers speaking. She found it quite informative from her experience going last year. Right. So there is an opportunity for a member of the community board to attend. One is one thing.
So that's the community board member on,
No, it can be one. It's just a community board.
yeah, but I'm saying that's a community board. If I went, I'm a councillor or I'm on the community board. Because I'm
Well,
appointed.
you're a member of the community board. So
there is some overlap with the program, but there is a specific program for the community board.
Didn't go last
Well, maybe we just put down a maybe at the moment and we'll have a discussion amongst ourselves. See if someone's interested in going or can go most days.
I did reach out to Becky.
Oh, yeah, we haven't talked about it. Just marked down or something.
I don't want to go. We didn't see one last time. So we're looking for options. Go or not. I'll move to option 2.
You would like to note that you could consider
Yeah.
within the time frame of the early bird
Yeah.
option. And
And by the chair, that a decision will be made or something like that. Or the board will come back later to the meeting.
We'll do that. Stu, are you happy with that? Right, so you need someone to move. Something do we? What have we got?
so it comes to A and B.
Someone moves the report, set the notes to Maniototo Community Board will consider whether a member would like to go or not.
Yeah, I'll move that.
Second, Mark Harris, all those in favour? Aye, against? Carried, thank you. I keep losing, changing pages on here. Keep pressing, oh, I keep pressing it on, but. Donna, how are you?
Thank you. So today the paper is being read. The financial report ending the 31st March 2024, there was a favourable operating variance of $125,000 against the revised budget. So of that, there was $101,000 favourable variance of revenue, and this continues to be driven by internal interest revenue on your surplus reserve balances and other capital contributions like those received from the Pierce Trust. Capital expenditure has a favourable variance of $24,000, with your contract having a favourable variance of $78,000. So these expenses are need-based and relate to your buildings with your planned maintenance as well as the parks and reserves open space contract. Overspends include your rates expense, your internal interest expenses, staff, and your depreciation. The staff variance is due to the timing of the Range Valley full budget and the seasons, so that will just blow out the rest of the 3 months of the financial year being reported on today. And then there's some overspend in the property general salary costs, and this is actually being charged out through a cost allocation where the staff time is actually charged to another activity. So this is recovered through other budgets. It just shows it's an unfavorable variance time. Capital expenditure has a favourable variance of $54,000, with 42% of the capital expenditure fund budget being spent year to date. So Parks and Reserve has a small variance of $13,000, and property has a overall favourable variance of $41,000. This has been driven from the Pioneer Store earthquake strengthening, which will be reassessed as part of the long-term plan, as well as the community hall and the Range Valley Art Centre project, which will be carried forward into the next financial year. Any questions?
Good. Good. No. Good.
With just a Jason, all parks and recs will go with it, won't they?
Yep. Yep.
Cool. The earthquake strengthening.
Yep.
What do we think of this before? Yeah, right. I'm getting sidetracked. I'll move the report be received.
Have a second, please.
Yeah.
Harris, all those in favour? Aye. Against? Everything. Thank you, Donna.
Thank you.
Me.
Online.
Tim's online.
Kia ora. G'day. How are you going, everybody? Sorry I couldn't be there in person today. I've got a Business South meeting at 3:30 and I missed the last one, so I thought I'd better make this one. Obviously been fairly busy with the finalisation of the annual plan. It's been a huge focus in the last few weeks. Lots of, I'm just working my way through at the moment, 150 responses to people who have submitted, so that's keeping me out of mischief, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. And as you've had today, the initial discussions as to distributisation with the boards. And of course, since we last met, there was the small matter of the discussion as to the spelling of the Maniototo ward. I attended a Civil Defence Emergency Management lunch in May, which was also followed by a CDM workshop for mayors on making emergency declarations. And I've been bloody lucky and touch Formica in my 7.5 years that I haven't had to declare an emergency, and I'd like that to continue. But it's always a good reminder and a good refresher. And I guess I'm putting this into my board reports because it's, you know, we've all got a role to play in emergencies, and just to cast our mind occasionally to what that role is and how we'd undertake it and who the key people we are. And I know that the Maniototo board in particular are virtually all involved in one way or another outside of their board roles as well. So yeah, always a good reminder that we don't know what's around the corner. We've had a program in place since February this year, Mayor's Task Force for Jobs, which has worked across the whole district, trying to firstly find the young people, the NEETs, the people not in employment, education or training, and then put them with employers. And it really been a great result. A lot of foundational work went in sort of March, April, May, and then June that started to pay dividends. And we've now got 7 local young people placed in employment. 10 more have been assisted in actively seeking employment, and 3 of these have got interviews. In fact, I think one's got an interview this afternoon. So we're getting great feedback from employers regarding how well the rangatahi are working, and we're actually now finding the coordinator is finding that employers are starting to approach them, asking if we've got suitable candidates. So it's the result of a lot of hard work done by Craig Gilchrist. He's the coordinator, and Economic Development Manager Nick Lanham's been backing him, but we haven't really had a lot of progress in the Maniototo. I don't think any of the people that have been employed have come from the Maniototo. So look, if any members or anybody watching knows of any young ones needing help, transitioning from school, or maybe they're in school and just not just not finding their way and looking for work, please do get in touch with me. And indeed, if you've got an employer who's looking for staff, let me know and we can get Craig on the case. That is my report, unless anyone's got any questions.
No, thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Someone move that report, please. Mark Harris, seconder. Stuart Duncan. Favour? Against? Thank you. Thank you, Tim. Right, it's me. I haven't been too busy. Had quite a few discussions with people about the spelling of Maniototo. Most of them are very favourable. I only had 2 people really disagree with the way it was done, but it's come out the way it is, and I'm sure in the next representation review it'll come up again.
Possibly not as for you, Chair, in the representation review, because it doesn't seem to be the most appropriate way for it to come up. Yep, it might come up through another means, through the evolution of time.
Yep, it will come up again. You know, I was talking to the manager at the Naseby Forest Ball Hard about the trees and the neighbour, and is it called Hollywood Street? I think. Come down, so the man seemed to think he owns Hollywood Street, from what I understand, doesn't he? So they've stopped selling around that area. Was that the street they talked about deforestation for the fens and everything?
Yes, yes,
Good.
they have taken those trees out as was agreed, but then the street takes a right angle and goes that way.
Yeah.
And it's those trees that that particular owner thinks were given over to him.
Yeah. So they're working through that, and they've got all the mountain bikers trying to access again, so I see they've got the gear there, they must be getting ready to land prep it, and more trees, and the mountain bikers are going to go on and put the tracks back in. Good to see a bit more work on the wastewater being done on Knowles Crescent, some extra money. Kudos probably to the council that it got the first job got done under budget, and doing some more. Bit of roading talk, Paul, you're here. Some of in the dry season we had, and talking to people about about grading roads when we're getting no result really. It was that hard and dry, the graders were basically bouncing off the road. Just wondering, are they better off doing something else rather than trying to grade roads that are pretty well ungradable?
Yeah, that's definitely a point. I mean, the team do adjust their grading frequencies depending on the time of the year.
Yep.
So they're not just on a set rate doing the same amount of work in the same locations, every month of the year. But I can certainly have a talk to them about their strategy in those hard summer conditions. And we certainly reduce grading over the winter, because obviously that's the whole rocks and basically turning wet roads to slush basically. So you've got a point, it's no different in the summer. There'll be some sections of road that are probably just not gradable. So why put the blade down? They are better off carrying on somewhere else.
Well, doing other work, I mean, you could actually get them out there, fill some of the potholes in the gravel roads with suitable fill.
Yeah.
Doing things like that, get rid of them. But yeah, it's a bit frustrating watching sometimes a grader goes over at 8 o'clock in the morning, by 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and you don't know who's been over it.
Yeah.
Basically because of the road conditions.
Yeah.
Been a bit of discussion about that with a few farmers and that. So that's just food for thought. Been involved with a group of farmers trying to get a stock water scheme, rural water scheme down through the Ida Valley. They're going through all the paperwork now and everything, trying to get people on board, which will be a great thing really for the local area. Going through all the fine details of providing drinking standard water. Not that easy. Had a discussion with the lady about the dogs. couple of dogs in particular. She didn't wish to be named. Lives not far from them. She was quite worried about the one that's wandering. Paul, not Paul, what's his name? Ryan and Parker, is it? He's been quite good. He's been up here quite often trying to sort the problem out. I gather we got rid of some of the pups out of the house, which is good. And now I only got one question: is this the solar farm progress? Can we be told anything about that? About how the consent's going? Or?
Well, there's no consent. So on the solar farm, so was it Helios when they had that workshop? To my understanding, speaking to the chap in charge, was that they've got 5 sites across New Zealand. They had put a resource consent through, I don't quote me on this one, but I think it was through Whakatane District Council around Edgecombe, where they've got one actively working, and they were in no position to submit a resource consent to council. And so as of this stage, we have seen nothing from them. I suspect that they want to see how that one progresses, and plus they have to sequence their work and, you know, their capital for this as well. So I don't know when we will see that come before council, but his intention was, but he felt it was important to put those through the relevant council. And at that stage, the fast track process wasn't alluded to. Whether that company's changed their mind, I don't know, but he was of the view it should be put through council. So on that basis, I would expect to see it, but I couldn't tell you as to when. Now that's the big one, the 640 hectare one.
Yeah.
There is another one, isn't there?
It was taken off. That was the outfit that built at Naseby, what do you call it? Genister.
This guy?
You know, like Naseby down Fantasy Road.
Tracks the sky.
Raider.
Space. That was the outfit. Your space jump.
Yeah.
That was the outfit that built that. They looked at building one there to run that.
Yeah, so at this point in time, apart from what they did in that workshop and with the community, we've heard nothing.
That's interesting. Right, and that's me. Some quick, so I'd just like to move that report be accepted.
Second.
Mark Harris, all those in favour? Aye. Against? Very, thank you. Members' reports.
Oh, I haven't got anything. I had a fair bit of discussion, as you said, about the name change. Home went for the first time in God knows how many years. But everyone was favourable to it. That's about it. Yeah, it's gone quiet since.
Good. No, there's been a bit of discussion about it. No, nothing bad. Right, thank you, Mark. Stu.
Yeah, I've been quite busy. We've had pit roading workshops and sitting on submissions that are coming in for hanging the plan. A few workshops and covered pretty much today. But there's been a lot of work by staff, and it takes a fair bit of work by the elected members who've been in and out of Alex and Zoom meetings quite a bit. And sometimes you wonder how you can fit it all in with your own work you're trying to do, but never mind done that. Good news, we've got our fire brigade has got its truck. Once again, a small community, the Lions after the croc competition gave 19,000 or something to finish it all off, so we've got a fully responsive truck now that can be geared up with all the gear and everything like that. So it's always good when a group like the fire emergency set themselves a target and get there. It's always a good feeling. Business meeting last night, I went to in Ranfilly. Really good group, but there's one theme in common: is just trying to get people to stop, fill up the cafes, get the business going. And I suggested to them the other day, like, you know, doing developing Naseby, and they'll probably come back to council at some stage and look at the fatigue signs that are after bypass turn off, after where the traffic turns. There's a real effort, and probably the first time there's been a really good designated group that are pretty passionate about the business community in Ranfilly. And, you know, there's a lot happening in the Venture Park in Naseby, and so I think it's a good opportunity. And last night, most of the time, Peter's been there and the staff have been there, but I think there's a real opportunity while there's an active group for our staff, especially economic development and the tourism, to really get on board and front foot some initiatives, because I think they're really asking for them. It's nothing new. So no, they're pretty keen and pretty passionate, which is good. But we are in a real economic slowdown, and those people stopping for the 2 cups of coffee and a scone and a pie means a lot to those businesses. So, yeah, they had a workshop last night about what they can do to change things. But in saying that, Peter was out the other day, and we had the hunt club. There's something completely different than what people see. And there's 200 horses there for 3 or 4 days, and people and the shops and Ranford really found it really invigorating because a lot of the ladies come in and bought clothes and did something else. So I think everything has an impact on the community, and that's why the distributisation is important, because I've driven past Cromwell, they've flown into international airports, where they're coming from Dunedin to Queenstown or Wanaka or whatever. So it's good that they've got a pretty passionate group and they're pretty dedicated. And the Chamber of Commerce were there yesterday, or Business South, so caught up with them as well. But one point it was, and it goes back to Dylan and Ants and those guys, the trails look like they're slowing down across the district, you know, and we don't need to be losing too many more businesses, and we won't have a trail network running through here. And it shows how important Hyde is when it shuts the restaurant down there to get accommodation. Some of the rail trail businesses have been sold again. Some have been accommodation that aren't going to be used for accommodation. So we really run the risk that the thing that was providing a lot of the income, the trails, it's starting to break up. And, you know, I guess our responsibility at council is the cost of doing business and the ease of doing business. So, you know, that's any business of finding that. Went to Amberley in the weekend to watch matches of rugby, and they had a very good community billboard or information kiosk in Amberley, and I took a photo of it, and I thought it was really good. And what it did was it showed the whole district and went back to 1,000 years ago when Maori went through there and everything like that, and explained the district and what it was, and encapsulated and you know where the sea and what happened with the sea and all parts of the Hurunui district. And I thought it really encapsulated a lot like our district. It's quite big, but there's a lot goes on in it in different places. You know, you are here, and this is what happens here. And I thought now we're probably mentioning digitalisation, but one thing that stuck out with me, and I said the business meeting yesterday, 83% of the GDP in the Hurunui district comes from agriculture or agriculture-related industry. So a lot of times we're trying to push a lot of this other stuff, but the real big chunk of our business comes from a big chunk of business that is agriculture. And it was a really good way how it showed that. And then about the naming of Mary names, they said one of the names of the Hurunui River, they didn't know what it meant. You know, so they would actually, so people, it is Hurunui as a Mary name, but they didn't know what it meant. But so there's a lot of that stuff that became informative, but it was a whole district approach. And I think what happened in the meeting yesterday, we want to do more for Ranfurly, and then we might do something for Naseby. Well, you actually do it for the Maniototo, or you do it for Central Otago District. And I think that's something maybe that as we go through this other, when you look at it in other regions, but a really, really informative billboard, right down to emergency numbers. You could be there, and it was outside the farmers market, which was really cool. You know, the lines, like every farmers market, but it actually was pretty cool. Yeah, Financial Times, as a result of all these, if we talk to the people we talk to, it's tough. And it's been tough being a councillor with the rate rise. And it's probably one of the toughest councillor times, because even last night it was with people like that way, and they go on about the rate cost. And then anything else that comes out, I know Tim's been getting a bit of grief about all the stuff associated, and that's unfortunately the part of being the mayor. You are the front line person for that. But it has been, you know, the Maniototo, it galvanised people, but it actually brought a lot of discussion to the table. But it has been tough, especially when people can't afford some of the rates. But there'll be a lot of agriculture don't like the rates and everything like that too. So I think, you know, the business meeting showed that the other day, but you don't have to go very far in agriculture or anything. And the communities are the same in Canterbury and North Canterbury, and the same in the restaurants and hotel trade. So it's been a bit tough really for a lot of people. You seem to be the first avenue they had to go at when they were upset or wild as a council. So not always pleasant. But other than that, no, that's been about me. And I guess we've got a few more big ticket items coming up at council. Winter's a wee bit easy to get away off farm, but we're always way done it. And then I haven't had too many real issues, but that's me.
All right, thank you, Stu. Can I have someone move those members' reports, please? Mark Harris, Singer, Stuart Duncan, all those in favour? Aye, against? No, thank you. Latest report. Maniototo Community Arts minutes. Would you like to move them, Stu?
I'll just reclaim my comment. I'll talk to the chief executive afterwards.
So can someone please move that we accept the governance report, please?
Status report, it is.
Sorry, status report.
I'll move remove the status report.
Second, Mark Harris. All those in favour? Aye, against, carried, thank you. Very much. The date of the next meeting is the 8th of August. Thank you everyone very much for their attendance and declare your meeting closed.
Brilliant.
Thanks. Now, Ruth, didn't you get a